When I offered to talk in this, I thought it would be a good idea if I could talk a bit about conversions. Not because I work for Keppel Shipyard, because all my projects on the oil business has been on conversions. But I haven't listened to yesterday what was the general theme of the topic, Joe. I went home and actually slightly restructured my talk a bit. So really, I'm not going to answer why conversion works, but I'm going to share with you my thoughts. How do you actually do a successful conversion project? Firstly, I need to disclaimer to be fair to Keppel Shipyard, my employer. The presenter contains my works, my studies, and my observation in the industries, and does not necessarily represent the opinions of Keppel Shipyard. Okay. Firstly, what is FPSO conversion? For some of you who are new, it's about taking an old iron and turn it into a nice, beautiful production facility. If you look on the right-hand side of the screen, that could be a new build as well. And I start thinking that when we talk about conversion, we're not talking about just using an old tanker and then turning it into a production facility. Realistically, you're taking a tanker, whether it's new or old, and making it into a floating production facilities. So what is difference? All right, the difference is, that's an example of the two. On the top corner is you prepare a tanker for conversion. And then the bottom is what it could look like when it's finished. Unfortunately, I wish this picture would line up bow to bow and stern to earth, but so every project you go through, and then you heard a lot about it, is risk. There's always risk in every project we do. In everything we do, we take risks. The moment we walk out of the house, we take risks. The moment we drive into the driver's seat, we take risks. So everything we do, we take risks. Then there's time to deliver. We call schedule. Then there's talent. We need people. We need expertise to deliver the project. And we need resources. I put them as though they are rocks. These are actually hard rocks. It's very difficult to crack. Okay, a jackhammer would do it, but even you break it down in small pieces, they are also small parcels of risk, small parcels of time. Okay, and they're not discrete, actually. They're risk, they're overlapping time, they're resources, and there's talent. To deliver a project is these massive rocks that you need to somehow or other eventually distinguish what affects, how your risk affects your time, and how your talents affects your risk, and how your resources affects your talents. I'll give you an example. You give a piece of white paper to a person who tell him to write a letter. Let's say he's a prolific writer. If you give him a pencil without a sharpener, he's not going to complete his letter writing because he'll run out of lead soon enough before he finishes the end of the page. So he keeps sharpening his pencil. What happens when the end of the pencil? He has no more pencil. He can't go on to the next page. So if you don't give him the additional pencils, he's not going to complete his work. So having talents is one thing, without resources is another. And I remember a project I was involved with the MD of the company, who happened to be my client, banging on the table and said, "Charles, you don't have enough people. Let me help you. I'll bring in 500 more people for you." So I told him, I held him by the hand and said to him, let's go for a walk, and you tell me where in the field there's an opening in which we have no people working on it. Then we walk around, and he say, you have no people working on that. And I say, you know why? Because I'm waiting for you for your drawings. I'm waiting for you for the pump to show up. Because this is what happened when, resources alone. So sometimes when the job is running behind, we think we can put more men on the job. They will really solve the problems. And we forget about the other things that the people we put on may not necessarily have the talents, may not understand the risk that he is asked to do, or the time he needs to take to do the job. So what I try to do is to simplify it and break it up and say, well, risk and or time is interrelated to talents and resources. And many years ago, I was always asked this question, why is a project always running over budgets and behind time? Now, I'm not here to tell you how to finance a project. I'm not here to tell you how to manage a project. There are experts in that. What I did was to study a number of projects to say, hey, what actually went wrong in this project? Why is this project behind schedule? Why is this project behind budget or above budgets? Why are we changing the design? And I had a mathematician friends, and we spent a lot of time at lunch. And this mathematician friend of mine was very good to actually translate every problem into a mathematical equations. So with his help, I'll come back to that in a minute. This looks like the slide is in the wrong place. This is bad. The slide is in the wrong place. I'll come to that in a minute. So we came up with this concept. Now, please do me a favor. Don't try to work this equation out, because it's not solvable. Just like the 4 rocks, it's not solvable. Okay? What he actually says is risk and schedule is really a function of talents and resources to a concept what we call 1 over exponential to the 1 over n. All right? N takes the place of 0 and 1. So n, which is A and B, right? A is the talents, B is your resources. It talks about competencies and talents. It talks about experiences. It talks about resources and quality of resources and quality of resources. It talks whether you got finances, onerous environment constraint, onerous safety case regime, etc., etc. And you actually can apply this to all walks of life. Sometimes we feel that when we deliver FPSO, it's no different than we deliver a simple household project. This works. Because if you want to go from P to A fast, you need something that can take you fast. Walking is not an option. Walking will take you there, but it will take you longer time. It might take you a bigger risk. You may get run down by a bus on the road. So they are interrelated. So we say understanding talents, which is the A factors. We say, well, you need qualified people. So in an FPSO game, we need qualified engineers, obviously, and we need experiences. We need training. Are they adequately trained? Can you do it alone? There are a lot of one-man band project managers around who cannot delegate, for instance. Is he the right person to do the job? Is there trust in the team and common goal alignment. You see a team player. I've seen projects where individuals try to outdo each other because he feels maybe he should be in the lead. And when he doesn't get to become the lead, he could be very destructive. He tried, it's just not cooperative. And sometimes project manager close a blind eyes to that. Is that cultural alignment? One of the biggest problems we have in the industry is that when we have a project, we go out to the street and hire people. And what happens is we hire a mix of people that come from different cultural backgrounds, not in terms of countries, but in terms of organizational culture. Now, these are the job hoppers. These people go from one project to another project, or one company to another company. So he learns the good thing or the bad things, and he brings to the project. And if you ask him, he say, well, that's how I used to do it, and you heard that yesterday. I've done that before. No one challenged me that. Then you got another group of people who say, well, we won't do it that way. So there's always cultural misalignment. And how do you get that cultural mix correct? So understanding, sharing, and having misalignment is very important. Adequate support. Management's got to provide adequate support. Sometimes management thinks, well, that's a project management problem. And once I complained in my own company, not Keppel, sorry, in the past, hey, I think our team needs a bit more support. Go and talk to the project manager. That's his problem. So we need top-down support. We need to understand statutory and regulatory alignment. This is talents. Sometimes we think we know better than the regulators. Sometimes we think that when we read what you call an engine standard, we straight away know that we think what the standard requires to do. Lesson learned from others, and that's the hardest bit, to learn from mistakes. All right. Then we talk about the B factors. Do you need help? Can you do it yourself? So have you got enough resources? And the type and quality of resources. Here you have a degree in engineering, but have you done this before? And very often, when you're a lead engineer, we employ graduate engineers on the job, and we expect them to do miracle, and we hardly have time to check their work. So training effort, and affordability. Can we afford to train these people? If we can't afford to train these people, the question is, why do we have them? So you've got to prepare to pay to get the right talents or the right resources. Funds. Do you have a bank account? Do you have the resource, the money to take the project forward? Talking about right budget. Do you have the tools and equipment? It's very good to write a beautiful specification for a welding procedure. You can do all the tests you want. You can do all the qualifications you want. And you've got the best welder you have in the industry. But you don't give him the right electrode or the right welding machine, he's not going to perform that well to your standard. That's an example. Simple, but it's real. Adequate support for your resources. Same thing. We need to understand lesson learned from others. So you put all that together, all right? So when your talents and resources are not quite in the right mix, if you like, okay? This is what happened. Let's say you have a talent factor of 0. No talents. You've got a team of people, but really have no talents. Okay, this is extreme. Okay, so your talent is 0, you multiply by something, is 0. That's your N. You know, 1 divided by 0 is infinite. So what does the expression tells us? Either the risk is huge or you never get there. You never get to deliver a project. Or you both. You have had high risk or high return. So to illustrate this, I've used these metrics. Right? So you got resources on one axis and talents on another axis. And what we want to do is we want talents. Okay? Sorry, in the bottom left-hand corner is if you don't have enough talents and you don't have resources, that results in procrastination. And I'm pretty sure you guys, we all associate with that. When we're not able to make decisions, things slow down and actually come to a standstill because we don't know what is the problem or we don't have the right people to decide. Then, of course, you've got increasing talents. Then you have resources, increasing resources. So what we want to do is to get there. We want the right talents in the job, and we want the right resources. The reality, the red line actually represents right schedule, right risk. But we want that as short as possible. So if you call this success factor, so what is the right mix? Maybe it's there. Maybe we don't need all the talents or maybe we need all the resources that we think we have. But there's a balance. The problem is to find this balance. So firstly, you got good talents and you don't have enough resources, you only get there. You don't get to the successful. You just miss the mark a bit. And you got sufficient resources, but you don't have the right talent, you go a bit further out. And what I'm trying to show you, what is encapsulated in between is your variation in your budget. Because at the end of the day, you got to pump money in to fix the problem, to get to where you want to go. So driving success. Really, the blue line and the green lines are not straight. It's actually quite complex. They can take many shapes. Because at the end of the day, if you decide that you need talents early and put resources later, the curve, you just take a longer curve to get there. And the bottom is the same thing. You put a lot of resources in and then realize that it wasn't resources, you actually need people to solve the problem. And then you will take a different curve. And the curve, how the curve shapes is the time it takes to reach there. That this is how we find out conceptually you represent risk and talents. Risk and schedule. So really, the question, what is the right mix? Okay. Let me go back. Yeah, let me talk about this too. I said earlier, there's really, to me, there's no difference between new build and conversions. Okay, but I know some of you will disagree with me. What basically we're trying to do is to get a foundation for the top side, all right? And it's the how. Some companies, some individual prefer new how to an old how. At the end of the day, is there a difference? The difference is in the cost and time. A new how costs more, an old how costs less. But is it different? At the end of the day, you can renew steel, you can make it literal class, you do tank gauging, and finally, you still got a house that carries the top side. The top side will be the top side. The top side will be new. There's no difference whether the top side going onto a new house is different to the top side going to an old house. So a new house takes longer time, a higher capex, is purpose designed and built. So you go to a Korean shipyard, they're not really interested because it's not a production line tanker. But if you get a production line tanker, for instance, okay, You still got to do a global analysis for the topside to sit on, and you got to add fatigue brackets and everything anyway. So you still have to convert a new tanker to suit the purpose, okay? Longer fuel life, maybe a higher production rate, balance sheet financing, whereas the conversion are usually lower capex. You know, you choose the house to suit, there are plenty out there, and they're shorter fuel life maybe, but it requires project financing. So it's really what drives the economics. So the difference is in the rate, okay? And in both cases, that you still need a turret and you still need the integrated topside. So the key in conversion is actually integration, engineering and integration construction. Once you got the foundation. So if I can say that basically, if you look at the new built FPSO and then converted FPSO at the distance, they look the same. Near, it may not look the same, but at the distance. So it is still a bucket of steel. And if you can get this bucket of steel at the lowest price, you got the right price for the project. The rest is about how you deliver it. And I've showed you before that you got to balance risk, you got to balance your schedule with your talents and resources. So a project requirements is driven by real economics, personal preference, or what drives the risk and schedule. I'll leave it here. I think that is all I've got. Thank you.